Vanda was so excited that summer. She had beauty, youth, and she was in love for the first time. She did not have to attend her lessons at the Friends Institute anymore. She could spend her days free of any commitments. It was a warm August day, and she was swimming with her boyfriend, Yeorgios, when she noticed an alarming expression on his face as he stared at something behind her back. "What is it? What is going on?" Vanda asked. "There is something behind you," he mumbled. "A dolphin?" Welcome to another episode of Helinika's podcast. I'm your hostess, Marialena, and today we explore a great mystery of the Greek seas. I remember that growing up, my parents and teachers would tell me that Greece is shark-free. And indeed, as a child, I would spend my summer swimming every single day, often far away from the shore, without witnessing any predator. I had never heard of anyone being attacked, or even coming face to face with the karcharias, as sharks are called in Greek. And Greeks do spend a lot of time exploring the seas during the summer months. However, despite what most people believed, there was a group of people that would smirk when hearing about the absence of predatory species in our waters. Fishermen, those who explored the seas in small fishing boats and caught fish for a living, had very different stories to tell. Most of them had witnessed a harmless basking shark revealing its toothless mouth, swallowing the water as they passed by their boats. Others had seen something much scarier. But are there really any dangerous shark species in Greece? And if so, have they ever attacked anyone? In 2013, while I was still a journalism student, I had interviewed a marine biologist from Rhodes who gave me the full picture. But before we answer this plain question, let's go back to Vanda's story, back in the 1950s, in one of the most popular Greek destinations. Vanda was blessed to live on a beautiful island, the island of Corfu in the Ionian Sea, a green paradise with calm, peaceful waters. She was also blessed to be part of the local elite. Her mother descended from a noble family, the House of Kogevina, while her father was the director of the local branch of the National Bank of Greece. As part of the elite, they socialized with the wealthiest men and women, even with members of the Hellenic royal family, who had their summer residence at the forest of Paleopolis, at the southern part of the island. They called it Mon Repos, a 3-story neoclassical villa among a vast green forest facing the Ionian Sea. On August 17, 1951, the royal family were on a boat trip, leaving their beautiful residence vacant to be enjoyed by their selected few friends. 3 teenagers, Vanda, her boyfriend Yeorgios, and her best friend, Naki, found the opportunity to visit Mon Repos and explore the exclusive seafront. They changed into their swimsuits and ran towards the calm turquoise waters. Yeorgios suggested to keep swimming away from the shore, with Vanda agreeing to follow him on his adventure. Naki decided to give the young couple some privacy and stayed behind. Approximately 240 meters away from the shore, at a depth of approximately 6 meters, Yeorgios saw a fin appearing behind Vanda. He was startled, but it was probably a dolphin approaching them with a playful spirit. As he tried to calm Vanda down, who had not seen the fin herself, he was able to take another look at the creature. It was a beast, the king of the oceans, with a dark grey and white body, diving deeper to approach them from beneath. The shark, which appeared to be a great white, launched towards Vanda, pulling her under the surface. The waters turned red. Yeorgios and Naki, who witnessed the scene few meters away, also felt the wrath of the king of the seas. In an effort to claim his prey, he tried to bite both of Vanda's friends, even pushing Yeorgios away from the scene with extreme force. Yeorgios and Naki were frozen in panic, watching their friend being consumed by an apex predator. They were later found by fishermen who took care of their wounds. Naki had a cut on her arm caused by hitting the shark's fin with force. It left a mark that never fully healed. Yeorgios was left to carry the trauma of seeing his first love devoured in front of his eyes. He never spoke of this incident to anyone. He later moved to Athens and became a successful neurologist and history writer. The incident traumatized the local community, but in an effort to avoid a decline in tourism, the deadly shark attack in Corfu was not massively reported. Inspired by the story of Vanda, the English writer Tim Potts, who spent his summer on the island during the tragedy, wrote the following poem. Blissful swimming in Corfu seas, a secret love tryst does here lack to meet a straying shark. If this incident surprised you, wait till you hear the statistics. Of course, Greece is no Australia. The chances of something like this happening to you while vacationing in the Mediterranean, especially in Greece, are minuscule. According to a 2023 study by the marine biologist Christos Taklis, there have been 15 officially recorded shark attacks in Greece in the last 180 years. The great majority, 12 out of 15, were deadly, and the most incidents occurred in the 1950s. Although the risk of a shark attack in Greece today is extremely low, with no confirmed incidents in the last 3 decades, the study suggests the need for continued monitoring and awareness regarding shark activity in Greek waters. What is important to consider here is that most of these attacks occurred in the Ionian Sea rather than the Aegean, the sea that surrounds the eastern part of the country in islands such as Santorini and Mykonos. Corfu, on the other hand, is in close proximity to the Adriatic Sea, where white shark populations are not unheard of. Now, going back to the 19th century, the Hellenic national poet Dionysios Olomos had dedicated his poem Porphyras to an English soldier who was devoured while swimming near Corfu. The event that inspired the poet also occurred in the Ionian Sea, but some other events happened in unexpected locations. Very unexpected locations, not too far away from the shore. In a previous episode, I had mentioned that I was born and raised in one of the ex-industrial neighborhoods of Piraeus, the main port of Athens. The port has many different unique neighborhoods: Kaminia, Keratsini, Kokinia, all working-class neighborhoods that were expanded or even founded by the Greek refugees of Asia Minor. The residents gave life to the Greek industry in the 40s and 50s, with many factories and industrial buildings expanding over the port. The big slaughterhouse in Trapezona would overlook the sea. A bit more south, the public power plant was located in Keratsini. During the summer months, it was not uncommon for the young factory workers to jump into the waters, a refreshing break after an exhausting shift. On a regular day, in September 1948, a group of teenage boys, about 15 to 17-year-olds, met at the Black Dumping Cliff, as they would call it, a pier constructed in Keratsini by German soldiers during World War II. As there was no sandy beach in front of the power plant, the locals would often take a quick jump into the waters from the pier. The waters were not completely polluted at this point. The group of teenagers met at this location to catch fish, but the sea was too seductive to resist on that day. Dimitris Parasakis, a 17-year-old young man, undressed on the concrete floor outside the power plant, ran across the wooden pier and plunged into the dark blue waters. It was pure bliss. The waters were so refreshing that day. He started doing the backstroke with one arm, while waving at his friends with the other, inviting them to join him. As soon as his friends approached the pier, they saw it. A wide open mouth, with multiple rows of sharp teeth, grabbed Dimitris and dragged him beneath the surface. The waters turned red, just a few meters away from the shore. It is speculated that the slaughterhouse of Trapezona, just at a short distance from the power plant, was attracting the apex predators of the seas into the shallows. They would dispose the blood into the sea, causing the sharks to go into frenzy. Shark sightings during that time period were not uncommon. However, another location in Greece seemed to have attracted the king of the oceans the next decade. It was a warm summer day in Pelion, the mountain of the mythical centaurs. The writer Helga Pohl had left the cold and windy city of Vienna and was excited to spend a few days sunbathing next to the sea. Her host, Alphonse Hochhauser, an Austrian dropout, had created a refuge for artists and intellectuals at the tiny island of Trikeri, a former concentration camp for male communists. The island was situated in close proximity to the Trikeri peninsula of the Pelion mountain range. It offered isolation and peace, a chance to reconnect with nature. And Helga needed this peace more than anything. She had to cure her creative block and complete the book she was writing. Pelion is a peninsula that is connected to the mainland and enters the northern part of the Aegean Sea. On the eastern side, it is surrounded by the deep, rough, open Aegean Sea. On the western side, a peaceful gulf welcomes the ships that travel towards the port of Volos. That is Pagasetikos Gulf, where the tiny island of Trikeri was situated, hiding away from the roughness of the open sea. I know this area very well. I spent every single summer of my childhood in Pelion. I learned how to swim in the deep and extremely unpredictable waters of the east. I learned how to react when an unexpectedly high wave would appear out of nowhere. How to enter the sea when the southern winds cause ruthless plunging breakers, and most importantly, how and when to exit. When the winds were too high, we would drive to the western side, where the waters always remained in a state of calmness. I'm not going to lie, this side was not favored by the Greeks as much as the foreign tourists. They were often a bit murky, too warm, too shallow, and filled with too many seaweeds. The island of Trikeri was a bit more idyllic, as it offered more isolation. On May 31st, 1963, Helga visited the seaside with two friends, Mr. and Mrs. Wilken. At a location called Pithos, Mr. Wilken climbed into his tiny skiff and embarked on his regular fishing trip. The two women entered the peaceful waters and started swimming. They stayed into the deep waters for a really long time, talking and laughing. Around 4 p.m., they both exited the waters, but shortly afterwards, Helga felt the sea calling her back in. She took a quick last dip into the waters and did not stray more than 3 meters away from the shore. Once she felt she had fully enjoyed the sea waters on that day, she turned her back to the horizon and started swimming towards the shore. But on that same moment, a beast from the depths of the seas had spotted and singled her out. She had become prey. The shark attacked her viciously in front of the eyes of her friend, dragged her into the depths, and only left a scarlet spill behind. Her remains were never found, just like with the rest of the victims named in this episode. Her book was left incomplete. At the beginning of this episode, I mentioned that when I was a student, I had interviewed a marine biologist on the presence of sharks in Greek waters. Mr. Iosif Makris, a doctoral student from the University of Aberdeen in Scotland at the time of the interview, had stated that there are 457 species of sharks, and very few of them are considered dangerous to humans. 47 out of them are also found in the Mediterranean Sea, and in Greece, at least 35 species of them have been identified, including Carcharodon carcharias, aka the Great White Shark. As Mr. Makris stated, the Greek seas are indeed harmless. The poisonous or predatory marine organisms that exist in other seas, such as the open oceans, are not frequent in Greece. As he mentioned in a humorous way, there are more sharks on land rather than on the shore. The latest shark attack in Greece occurred in the 80s, again in the Gulf of Parasitikos, and with an Austrian national again as a victim. However, the attack was not deadly in this case. Rumor has it that a frequent commercial shipping route from Syria to Volos was to blame, as the numerous sharks that would follow the vessel from the southeastern Mediterranean basin found themselves trapped in the Gulf and acclimated to its warm temperatures. The sharks, however, seem to have existed in the Greek seas for thousands of years, and their population has not increased. It has declined. The ancient Greek historian Herodotus accounts in his histories the first Persian invasion of Greece in 492 BC. Mardonius had deployed his fleet in the northern Aegean Sea, hoping to take over the entire Hellenic mainland. However, the gods of the Greeks were not happy. Off the most holy mountain of Athos in Macedonia, the ruthless northern winds hit the Persian boats, crushing about 300 vessels on the rocky cliffs. Herodotus describes how over 20,000 Persians perished in the rough seas, many of whom were attacked and devoured by sea monsters that gathered at the spot for a feast. It should come as no surprise that the first classification of sharks came from the Greek philosopher Aristotle, who, in the 4th century BC, described the species in great detail in his History of Animals. Throughout history, there have been reports of sponge divers who encountered predatory creatures in the Greek seas. They would often call these creatures dogfish, Scylopsera in Greek. Today, sightings of these apex predators are extremely rare. This episode may displease those who would rather lie to the public in fear that their business endeavors may be affected by a drop in tourism. You can do your own research on the matter and remember that even if sharks do exist in the Greek waters, the chances of encountering one are extremely low. If you're curious to learn more about the cases I mentioned in this episode, you can join Helinika Society via the join button that appears under this video. Members have access to photos and additional materials that complete the puzzle. Make sure to also like and subscribe to not only support this channel, but also be alerted whenever a new episode is published. I look forward to reading your thoughts and opinions in the comment section. Till next time.